Hello, everybody. Dr. Kevin again here, and welcome to day 9 of our spine rehabilitation program series, where over the course of 30 days, I hope to show you how to create a full body, comprehensive spine rehabilitation program from complete scratch in ways that I believe are the safest, simplest, and most effective ways possible. Day 7 and days 8, we started to help you understand this concept of anterior pelvic tilt, and more importantly, the relationship of the tightness in the muscles in your thigh and in the front of your hip, and how it can be one of the most overlooked yet important muscle imbalances that can be at the root of a lot of people who are struggling with lower back pain. And that when we were actually able to identify tightness within those muscles, release tightness within those muscles, is one of the most surprising and most effective ways at relieving pressure off of your back, because we're effectively able to help just restructure a lot of the imbalances in the muscles in your hip that could be causing a lot of pressure and strain on your spine. So day 9, we're going to just continue along releasing tightness in the muscles in the front of your leg, because again, I just think it's such an important but overlooked concept, and one that can just bring so much utility in terms of just relieving pressure off of your back, that we're going to spend many days going over how to actually release it, so you can just get familiar with it, so you can start to get practice with it, and so hopefully also receive some of the benefits of actually identifying and releasing tightness in the muscles in front of the hip. So day 8, we specifically went over how to foam roll the muscle in the front of your leg known as the quad. And in day 9, we're going to just follow up on the foam roller to teach you a couple of different ways that you can start to stretch that muscle in the front of your leg. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways of stretching the thigh muscle. I would suggest that you just find which stretch works best for you, and that you may not have to do all 3 stretches. I'm going to come at it from a couple of different approaches. I'm going to show you how to stretch using a strap over a bed or couch or a table. It might be a little tricky to do, but it's one that I think is the safest to do in terms of keeping pressure off of your back. I'm going to show you also how to do it in a lying down position, and then we'll also show you how to do it in a standing position. A lot of patients that have a lot of tightness in their leg may not be able to do the last version, which I think is probably the most effective, but it's also the hardest to do. So I'm going to give you a couple of alternatives to just to help build you up. So so hope you enjoy day 9's video, and we'll see you with the first exercise. Okay, so let's start with the first stretch for today. See, we're in a slightly different setup here. I want to just show you this table that we have here, because we're going to be using this physical therapy table to help you show the next stretch. We'll also be using this yoga strap here, because I think that this is probably the easiest way to start to access stretching of this thigh muscle while also simultaneously protecting your back. Now, I know that a lot of people aren't just going to have a high-low physical therapy table just kind of sitting at home, but you can easily do this off of the edge of the bed. You can even do this off of the couch. And I'm going to show you why the setup is so important in terms of making sure your back is completely protected in the event that you try to do this without, just on the floor without some type of thing to protect your back, how stretching your leg could actually hurt your back. So real quick. So I'm just going to use this strap here. I'm just going to just put my foot in the strap here. And the reason why we're having you do it in this kind of setup here, because if I'm just pretend like I'm on the floor stretching my leg, this might help. This might work. But again, one of the tendencies for a lot of people is that their back is going to start to overarch. And the more stretch you put in this leg, the more strain you actually might be putting on your lower back. And that is something that we absolutely actually want to avoid doing. So how we can counter this, I'm going to face the other way just so I can give you a better visual, is by making sure that one foot remains flat on the floor while you start to stretch your leg like so. And why this is so much different from this is because the fact that my leg is on the floor is going to anchor my pelvis into a fixed position, which is going to ensure that my back stays completely straight and stays completely flat, and there's going to be none of that like overarching sensation that is going to happen at all. So again, this is probably it's a little annoying to get into if you don't have the setup, but if you do have the setup available to you, I think that this is just one of the most approachable ways of starting to stretch this quad muscle, especially if it's really tight and especially if you're dealing with a lot of back issues. So again, just hook the strap onto your leg and try to pull your use a strap over your shoulders. Just pull your knee as far as you can towards your butt. And once you feel a deep stretch, you just stay right there for a couple seconds. Take a couple of breaths in, breathe out, and just pull a little further. Deep breath in, breathe out. Now, the goal at some point is to be able to get your heel towards your butt, but I've seen a lot of patients that, may only get from here to about here, and that's completely fine. Again, this is a very overlooked, very neglected muscle in a lot of my patients, but when we are actually able to increase flexibility, it's just one of the most, one of the biggest game changers that we've seen for a lot of our patients. So definitely recommend this stretch if you're just kind of starting out. So deep breath in. Breathe out. You can use a belt, you can use any sort of strap, or you can just go on Amazon and order this $10 like multi like whole strap here that I just happen to have and like to use. Okay, one more time. Deep breath in. Breathe out. And just pull a little further. Okay. So let's show you the second. Let's go over the second leg. So I'll strap the other leg up on here. And this time I'll have my right foot anchored onto the floor. And what this is going to do is going to just anchor my pelvis in a fixed position while also making sure that my back stays in a completely straight and protected position through here. And it's going to have the ropes over my head. And it's going to pull my heel towards my butt. Once I feel the stretch, I'll take a nice deep breath in. Exhale. And just pull a little more. Again, breathe in, breathe out, as far as I can. Hold it here for a couple seconds. Couple more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. And last one. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Again, it's a little difficult sometimes to get into the setup, but if you have something that you can easily keep your foot anchored onto the ground, either off the bed, off a couch, it's just one of the most approachable and one of the most effective ways that you can really start to get a really deep stretch in that quad muscle while also simultaneously protecting your spine from any unnecessary stress. So that's it for the first quad exercise. Let me show you a second quad stretch in the event that something like this just isn't accessible for you. So let's get right into stretch number 2. Okay, so here's the second quad stretch that you can try in the event that the first exercise is just a little bit challenging for you to find a position that you can do, and if the third exercise is also just a little bit more difficult for you. So here's just kind of an in-between of the first two that you can try on your own. I'm going to be starting with a strap here. I'll show it to you initially with the strap, and then we'll show it to you just kind of using my hand in the event that it's too difficult for you to do without a strap, or also in the event that you don't have a strap available. I'm just using a multi-hold yoga strap here, which you can order on Amazon. But you can use a belt strap, you can use a belt, you can use a bathrobe or anything just to kind of latch your foot onto. So I'm going to start by just latching or just putting my foot in this hole here, and then I'll be laying on my side. So I'm just going to double up on this pillow just to make my neck feel comfortable. And from here, I'm just going to try to just bend my knee up as far as I can. And then I want to actively push my heel and my hip back behind me like so, just so I can start to really increase the stretch in this quad thigh muscle here. And then once I get to this point where I start to feel stretch, I'm just going to pull on the rope a little bit just to bring my heel a little closer towards my buttocks while also just kind of actively trying to kick my heel back. Okay. What I really want to pay attention to is to make sure that my lower back is not arching backwards. So I just want to make sure that my abs are tucked in a little bit and my back is completely straight. My back shouldn't move at all when I do this. It should be only isolated to the stretch that I feel through the front here. So we'll show it to you again. So it's bending. I'm just using the strap to pull my heel towards my butt as far as I can, and then just kind of actively pushing my hip backwards at this angle through here. And once I start to feel a stretch right here in the front, I just pull on the strap a little bit harder. Once I feel a good stretch, like always, we'll take a nice deep breath in. Exhale. And just pull a little harder like so. Two. And three. Again, making sure that my back isn't arching, making sure that my pelvis, my core, everything is staying nice and tight to make sure that I can make sure that I'm protecting any movement from occurring through my back and really trying to isolate this quad and thigh muscle. So let's show two on the other side. So from here, I'll just hook my left leg in, my left foot in, and I'll turn to the side. And again, just try to pull and bring my heel as close as I can towards my buttock, and then just actively pushing my heel backwards, just kind of kicking behind me, making sure, again, that my back is not arching backwards, that it's staying nicely tucked and protected, and that should really isolate the stretch that you feel in the front. And then from here, just using the strap just to pull me a little bit further into the stretch. Take a nice couple of deep breaths. Exhale. Just go a little further into the stretch. It's two. A couple more. It's three. Again, with stretches, minimum of 5 breath cycles. You can go up to 8 to 10 breath cycles, but I would recommend at least 5 cycles. It's 4, just to really maximize the effectiveness of it, so you can start to really practice your breathing rhythm as you stretch. Last one. That's 5. Okay. And if you don't have access to a strap, if you are able to grab onto your foot here, then you can do the stretch easily, just lying down as well, pulling your heel as close as you can towards your buttock, and then just trying to actively kick your leg behind you. You'll really feel a stretch in the front of the leg, in the front of the thigh here. Again, just make sure that your back is staying flat, that you're not overarching your back, since that will defeat the purpose of the stretch. Same thing here. Pull as far as I can, and then try to point the knee as far down and as far back as you can while making sure your back is staying protected. Let's do 3. That's 4. That's 5. Okay, so that's it for the quad stretch in a side lying position. And then I'm now going to show you in the standing position, which I think is the most effective way, but also most difficult to do. So if you're having difficulty with the third one, just try to stick with at least the first one. And here's just a kind of second intermediate option in the event that just the first exercise or the third exercise just are not accessible to you. So let's move on to the third exercise. So I'm going to use a foam roller here just for balance. You can use a roller. You can just hold onto a wall. You can hold onto a chair. I would suggest that you hold on to something for balance, just because I don't want you to have to be struggling with your balance while also focusing on stretching your thigh. So hold on to something just for the sake of learning the stretch. And then, as your balance improves, as the tightness in the muscle starts to get better, you might be able to do it without the roller, but I would definitely suggest you hold on to something. So my head's going to get cut off just because I want to show you, more importantly, what's happening in this muscle and the relationship that stretching this muscle has to my pelvis and actually has onto my back. So a lot of people know this stretch if they've ever ran before, if they've ever done cross country or track, because it's a simple runner stretch called the quad stretch here. But a lot of my patients, when they do this or when they've done in the past, are unaware of what they need to focus on. They're not getting as much out of the stretch as they could be, and could ultimately be putting more pressure on their backs in ways that they're even unaware of. So to show you the most common mistake that we see when people do this is people will just kind of grab onto their, lost my balance. They'll just kind of grab onto the leg here and they'll just kind of pull their knee towards the ground. But what they're not doing is they're not paying any attention to what's happening in their back, what's happening to their pelvis, or what's happening to their core. So what happens a lot of times is the muscle in their quad is so tight that they're unaware that the tightness in the muscle in the thigh is actually pulling their pelvis into this anterior pelvic tilt, and they're actually creating a lot of unnecessary arching in the back like so. So again, person that's not paying attention might just do something like this, and they're just unaware that their back is arching, their pelvis is tipping forward, and their abs aren't engaged here. So how we want to start to maximize the effectiveness out of the stretch is just to follow along some of the principles that we lay out in the first, in day 7 and day 8, by teaching you how to keep a neutral pelvis, neutral spine, and that what I promise you'll find is just how tight and how restricted that thigh muscle actually is. And once we can actually start to release the tightness in that muscle, again, it can be one of the things that will help remove that strain off of your pelvis, which will take pressure off of your spine. So let's get right into how I would want you to do the stretch. So I'll show it up close just so you can see the angle here and here a little bit more closely. So I'm going to pull my heel to my butt, and instead of letting my back arch and my abs just kind of empty out, my pelvis tip forward, I just want to, again, try to keep a neutral pelvis like so. I want to keep my back completely rounded and flat to prevent it from arching backwards. And I also want to consciously engage my abdomen muscles, okay? And you'll see the first thing that's going to happen is that your leg and your knee is going to want to pop forward, and that's because that's exposing just how tight this muscle actually is. But if I keep all of this, my pelvis, my back, and my core completely still, then you will dramatically see how much more stretching you'll get out of this thigh muscle. So I'm going to take a step out just so you can see the whole stretch here. So I'm going to pull my heel to my butt, and instead of letting my back arch, I want to keep my pelvis and back completely straight, and you'll see how much my leg wants to pull forward. Keeping this secure, and keeping this still, then I want to start to point my knee towards the ground like this. It's much, much, much harder to do than just doing this, where I'm just emptying a lot of the pressure into my back. If I just keep everything just locked in and secure, I really start to feel a pretty heavy stretch in the front of my quad here. So as always, with any stretch, once you reach the point where you start to feel stretching discomfort, that's when the exercise begins. So we take a nice deep breath in, breathe out, exhale, and just pull the leg a little straighter, while just making sure you keep your focus and your concentration on your core being tight, your pelvis staying level, and your back staying flat. Okay? A couple more times. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And eventually, I want to drive and point my knee all the way towards the ground without my back, without my pelvis, without my core moving at all. One more time. Okay, we'll show it on the other side, just so you can follow along. So, heel to my butt, making sure my pelvis and my back, everything stays flat, and you'll start to see my knee popping forward. And again, if you're doing this for the first time, you might only be able to get from here to here, but that's okay. What's more important is that you understand that if you don't keep everything secure, that this quad muscle is just going to pull your back into this hyperextended position, and that's what we want to address. So if you're only able to get from here to here within the first day, that's completely fine. This might take weeks for you to be able to get all the way down here, but what matters is that you understand that the relationship between the muscle this quad muscle can have on your pelvis and on your spine, that it can make you prone to this anterior tilted posture. Okay, so most importantly, just keep everything still and secure like so. Okay, from here, we'll take a couple of breaths. Exhale. Just point that thing down closer to the ground. Let's do me a little tighter on this left side for sure. So even me, just use these stretches just to identify different imbalances within my body and just take a little bit of time just to work out some of these issues. Okay, breathe in, breathe out. There we go. Really feel a pull on this side. Okay, so that's it for quad stretching. Again, if you want to just follow along, I would try to practice that stretch an additional 2 to 3 sets. Go shoot for about 5 to 8 breath cycles on each side. And if you're just struggling a lot with getting your heel to your butt, if you can't quite grab on, then I would stick with the first two to start with. But I would eventually try to work up to the point where you can do this one because it's really, really effective. It really helps you see the relationship between the tightness of the muscle of your quad, how it can start to influence your back, and we're able to reverse and reset some of those patterns while simultaneously stretching the muscle. It's just one of the most effective ways at being able to reverse some of those imbalances to take a tremendous amount of pressure off your back. So hope you enjoyed the stretching, and we'll hopefully see you for the next session. So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.